8 hours later, and then try to do what's called a retrograde extrapolation. But it was garbage because they took this
for drunk driving, Linda. Does that hold up for drunk driving? That test?
In some states it can, but not with, like in New Jersey, you would need a double test. You wouldn't just need one test because you have to show whether the person's going up in drinking or down in drinking. You have to show whether their blood's going up. But they did it wrong here because they took serum versus whole blood, and there was all issues with this. So I don't think it would convict her.
Just on that first thing, you're telling me if she was in a car accident unrelated to a murder, in a car accident with the test that they gave her, would they be able to use that against her or no?
They could use it against her, but it depends on whether or not the serum, the defense challenge of validity. It depends on whether there was a serum or the whole blood, and whether or not they accounted for the fact that she has what disease that she has.
To me, it's a problem in itself that you can't find her guilty of anything having to do with liquor.
It's an issue. The blood test itself is an issue. Okay,
so not guilty of the offense, whatever. Guilty of the offense is charged manslaughter while operating a motor vehicle under the influence. Again, with the under the influence. Is there one without being under the influence? Manslaughter while operating under the influence, and or manslaughter while operating a motor vehicle with the blood of alcohol. Okay, so what's the difference? Can you explain the difference between a 0.08 and greater and under the influence of liquor?
It's different penalties. So they're just saying one is under the influence. No matter what you were drinking, you were under the influence, as opposed to you were legally drunk under the influence of 0.08. One's legally drunk and one is just, it's affecting you.
I'll tell you something else that bothered me, Linda. When I watched the documentary and they arrested her, and the police went to arrest her the first time, and then they came back and arrested her again, very violently. They didn't have to do that. I mean, I watched the documentary and there was video of second-degree murder. And, second-degree murder is like, second-degree murder is murder. Manslaughter is different. There's manslaughter for all different reasons, meaning someone died.
Right.
Not meaning to die, but they died. But
right. Exactly. All different reasons. Just like here, by the way, the prosecution didn't want any of these. They just wanted the top manslaughter. They didn't want all the lesser included.
The fact that the prosecutor in the beginning, carrying on till now, even had second-degree murder on the sheet, to me makes him a piece of shit. Because never, ever, ever did anyone think that she intentionally, first-degree murder means she woke up in the morning, knew she wanted to kill him, planned it all out, and did it, right? That's first degree.
Murder in the second degree. And Massachusetts has this weird thing that if you do a conduct intentionally that could kill somebody, that's murder. Because first degree is usually the killing of a cop.
He talked about this. Hank said this. He talked about the intending act.
Right, the intending act. You had to have an intending act. That doesn't necessarily mean that you had a motive to kill, but you knew that if you were you intended to back up into him, knowing that would likely kill him.
So then I would challenge Hank, the genius, and say to him, well, you can't have it both ways, sweetheart. You can't say she's a drunk and can't stand up and is wasted, and then say also, but she had the thought of mind to know that if she went forward, she'd do this, and if she went backward, she would kill him. What is it?
Yeah.
If she's wasted drunk, I don't think she could even do that.
I don't think she could drive the car even when she wasn't drunk. I mean, with regards 20 in a straight line to hit somebody, in the snow.
Sound mind, making a sound decision, and at the same time be accused of being an alcoholic, being drunk and killing someone. So to me, you can't have it both ways. And I didn't like that. I didn't like this second degree, because I always thought that was overreaching. And
do you think if the prosecutor had not gone for the second-degree murder, they would have had a better chance to convict on the manslaughter?
You bet. Because if I'm a jurist, I'm telling you, I don't like second-degree murder. I don't like when you overreach. Don't charge for that second degree. You made a mistake. You did it then. And that was because of the whole blue, right? The whole massacre with the police and, the wall of blue and it was their homeboy, and they wanted to make sure, but then there's all these things like that make me crazy that I can't, like I said, wrap it up in a bow. Like when the bad guy who they fired, right? What was his name? The guy who they fired.
You mean Proctor, who got fired? Michael Proctor?
Yeah.
Yeah, the one who called her a whack job and said she has a leaky balloon and she basically goes doo-doo in her pants.
That's enough for me as a jurist to find her not guilty.
Right, me too. I mean, it was outrageous, outrageous how
Well,
and that's he didn't even have an autopsy report, Joe. He had no cause of death when he was doing all this stuff.
is negligence is enough for a not guilty plea.